Menelaus wasn't destined to be king. Son of Atreus, he grew up surrounded by shadows and blood. His lineage was cursed. The house of Atreus was condemned by generations of family tragedies. His father served his own son as a meal to the gods. His brother killed the children of his uncle. A legacy of blood spilled by family hands. But Menelaus, he chose something different. While his family conspired, murdered, and sought revenge, he chose the path of honor. This choice would define him for the rest of his life and nearly destroy him. In his 20s, Menelaus was still just Agamemnon's brother when a unique opportunity arose. Helen, daughter of Zeus and the mortal Leda, had reached marriageable age. The news spread throughout Greece like wildfire. She wasn't just any princess. She was literally the most beautiful woman who had ever existed, blessed by the gods with beauty that made men forget to breathe. Suitors flocked from every corner of the Greek world. Odysseus of Ithaca, with his legendary cunning, Ajax of Salamis with his tremendous strength, Diomedes of Argos, hero of countless battles, dozens of kings and princes, each bringing unimaginable wealth, hoping to win not only Helen but the throne of Sparta that came with her. Tyndareus, king of Sparta and Helen's adoptive father, faced a terrible dilemma. Any choice he made would create powerful enemies. The rejected suitors could unite and destroy Sparta in revenge. It was then that Odysseus, in a moment of political brilliance, proposed a solution that would change the course of history. Let all swear to protect the chosen marriage. Odysseus suggested, let each suitor promise to defend Helen and her husband against any threat. It was the oath of Tyndareus, a pact that would transform a dispute over a woman into a military alliance spanning all of Greece. Everyone swore. Everyone accepted the consequences. And when Helen finally chose Menelaus, many were surprised. Why would the most beautiful woman in the world choose not the most charismatic, nor the richest, nor the most powerful, but the most honest? The answer lay in Helen's own character. Tired of suitors who saw her only as a trophy, she found in Menelaus something rare, a man who loved her for the person she was, not just for the beauty she possessed. He offered stability, respect, and above all, genuine fidelity. The wedding was celebrated as the social event of the decade. Menelaus became king of Sparta, and the first years were of genuine happiness. Helen gave birth to Hermione, consolidating the dynasty. Menelaus proved to be a competent king, strengthening Sparta's defenses and maintaining prosperity through trade. The Spartan court became famous for its hospitality. Menelaus religiously followed the sacred laws of Greek hospitality, receiving all visitors with dignity. He was a man who valued honor above all else, and this characteristic would define both his greatness and his tragedy. 10 years after the marriage, a young prince of divine appearance arrived in Sparta on a diplomatic mission. Paris, son of King Priam of Troy, was everything Menelaus was not. Menelaus, beautiful as a god, charismatic as a poet, seductive as Aphrodite herself, and there was a reason for this. Aphrodite had promised Paris the most beautiful woman in the world as a reward for choosing her in the judgment of the three goddesses. Menelaus received Paris with all the honors due to a foreign prince. He offered him the best room, the best food, the best wine. He introduced him to his wife, his daughter, his kingdom. Paris remained in Sparta for weeks, gaining everyone's trust. He was the perfect guest, polite, interested in Spartan culture, respectful of traditions, but while he smiled at Menelaus during dinners, Paris courted Helen in the corridors. He took advantage of every moment when the king was absent to whisper sweet words in the queen's ear, and Helen, under Aphrodite's divine influence, began to fall madly in love with the young Trojan. Fate was sealed when Menelaus received news that he needed to travel to Crete for his grandfather Cadridius's funeral. It was a family obligation he couldn't ignore. Trusting in the laws of hospitality and his wife's fidelity, Menelaus departed for Crete, leaving Helen under the protection of his palace in Paris as a guest of honor. It was the biggest mistake of his life. In Menelaus's absence, Paris revealed his true intentions. Under Aphrodite's divine power, Helen completely lost control over her feelings. In a single night, she abandoned everything, her husband, her daughter, her kingdom, and fled to Troy with Paris, taking with her much of Sparta's royal treasure. When Menelaus returned from Crete and discovered the betrayal, his world completely collapsed. It wasn't just personal devastation, it was a public humiliation that threatened his authority as king. His honor as husband and host had been stained in the worst possible way. Personal pain mixed with anger and determination to restore his lost dignity. But Menelaus was a practical man. He knew he couldn't face Troy alone. He immediately traveled to Mycenae, seeking his brother Agamemnon, and Agamemnon, recognizing both the family obligation and the political opportunity that the oath of Tyndareus represented, agreed to lead a Greek coalition against Troy. Messengers were sent to all cities whose leaders had sworn to protect Helen's marriage. The response was impressive. One by one, the former suitors fulfilled their oath, although some did so reluctantly. Odysseus tried to feign madness to avoid the war but was unmasked. Achilles was hidden by his mother, but was also discovered and convinced to join the expedition. The fleet that assembled at Apolis was the largest the Greek world had ever seen. More than 1,000 ships with hundreds of thousands of warriors, all united by the oath they had made years before. It was literally the face that launched 1,000 ships. During the 10 years that the siege of Troy lasted, Menelaus proved to be a brave and steadfast warrior. He participated in numerous battles, always fighting with the determination of a man seeking to recover both his wife and his lost honor. His presence on the battlefield served as a constant reminder of why the war was being fought. The most memorable confrontation occurred when the two men agreed to resolve the war through single combat with Helen as the prize for the victor. Menelaus clearly surpassed Paris in warrior skill, and was about to kill him when Aphrodite intervened, enveloping Paris in a divine cloud and transporting him back to Troy. This divine intervention frustrated Menelaus but also demonstrated that his cause was just in the eyes of the gods. Throughout the war, Menelaus maintained his unwavering determination to recover. While other heroes sought personal glory or spoils, he remained focused on his original objective. When Achilles withdrew from combat due to his dispute with Agamemnon, Menelaus continued fighting. When other commanders considered abandoning the siege, he insisted on continuing until achieving complete victory. The war finally came to an end with the wooden horse strategy devised by Odysseus. Menelaus was one of the warriors who hid inside the horse and participated in the nighttime sack of Troy. When the city fell, his first priority was to find Helen. He found her in the palace of Dioba, but she was Paris's brother who had married her after the Trojan prince's death in battle. The reunion between Menelaus and Helen was intense and complicated. Menelaus had arrived with the intention of executing his unfaithful wife, but when he saw her again, her beauty and her pleas appeased his anger. Some versions say that Aphrodite intervened once more to protect Helen, while others claimed that the genuine love Menelaus had felt for her had never completely disappeared. Helen expressed repentance for her actions and explained how she had been a victim of Aphrodite's divine power. Menelaus decided to forgive Helen and take her back to Sparta, but the return journey wasn't easy. The gods sent storms that scattered the Greek fleet, and Menelaus and Helen were carried by the winds to Egypt, where they remained stranded for several years. During this forced time of exile, the couple had the opportunity to rebuild their relationship. Helen demonstrated her repentance and her desire to be a faithful wife, while Menelaus learned to forgive and look toward the future instead of living in the past. Finally, Menelaus and Helen returned to Sparta, where they resumed their reign. The years after the war were of peace and prosperity. Menelaus had recovered not only his wife, but also his honor and his kingdom. His perseverance during the long years of war had demonstrated his character and earned the lasting respect of his subjects and allies. The couple aged together in Sparta, and their marriage became a symbol of redemption and forgiveness. Unlike other heroes of the Trojan War who faced tragic deaths, Menelaus was rewarded by the gods with a long life and a place in Elysium after death, due to his marriage to Helen, daughter of Zeus. Thus, Menelaus established himself as an example of determination and honor in Greek mythology. His story demonstrated that loyalty and perseverance could overcome even the most painful betrayals. Although he had initiated the most devastating war of his era over a personal matter, his unwavering commitment to justice and his ultimate capacity to forgive made him a heroic figure who transcended simple revenge to represent the possibility of reconciliation and renewal. Menelaus' story teaches us that sometimes true heroism isn't in the strength of a sword strike, but in the strength to forgive. What other lessons about love, war, and redemption can we extract from ancient myths? Leave in the comments which Greek mythology hero we should explore in our next journey. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any epic stories.